The revelation of Jesus Christ was given to John by God to show his servants what must soon take place. This book is filled with mysteries about things to come. It is the final warning that the world will surely end and judgment will be certain. It gives us a tiny glimpse of heaven and all of the glories awaiting those who keep their robes white. Revelation takes us through the great tribulation with all its woes and the final fire that all unbelievers will face for eternity. The book reiterates the fall of Satan and the doom he and his angels are bound for. We are shown the duties of all creatures and angels of heaven and the promises of the saints that will live forever with Jesus in the New Jerusalem. Like John, we find it hard to describe what we read in the book of Revelation. The book of Revelation is not a secret code or puzzle to predict the end of the world. It's a message to 7 ancient churches who were facing persecution. It's an indictment of earthly kingdoms that makes that point that every human kingdom eventually becomes Babylon and must be resisted. The book is filled with visions and images that point to Jesus' return as the ultimate king, where he will restore his people and usher in the new creation. This promise motivates every generation of God's people to remain faithful in the midst of persecution and hardship. It's a book of encouragement and challenge. It uses visions and symbolic imagery to offer a glimpse of God's plan for a new creation. See how the strange visions of Revelation point to the fulfillment of God's promise to Abraham and his purpose for humanity. The revelation is lavish in colorful descriptions of the visions, which proclaim for us the last days before Christ's return and the ushering in of the new heaven and new earth. The revelation begins with letters to the 7 churches of Asia Minor, then goes on to reveal the series of devastations poured out upon the earth. The mark of the beast, 666, the climactic battle of Armageddon, the binding of Satan, the reign of the Lord, the great white throne judgment, and the nature of the eternal city of God. Prophecies concerning Jesus Christ are fulfilled, and a concluding call to his lordship assures us that he will soon return. John warns readers that they must heed his words if they want to survive the coming apocalypse. John says that God spoke to him and told him to spread his word to the faithful. If the faithful listen to God's words, they will inherit the world and God's love. If they deny him, their souls will burn. John describes a vision of Jesus appearing in the sky. Jesus knows Christians are attacked for believing in him. Still, they must remain faithful through this relentless persecution. When John first sees Jesus, he is terrified because Jesus is surrounded by bright light and flames. However, Jesus doesn't want him to be afraid. He just wants him to listen and write down God's will. Jesus warns the faithful that they will be imprisoned, assaulted, and challenged by the Roman authorities, but they must cling to their trust in God. God will come to them, offering them eternal love and a place in heaven. Those who doubt God or Jesus will endure eternal damnation. Jesus gives John a tour of heaven. John sees the throne in God and all the angels who worship him. God reveals a scroll with 7 seals, which a sacrificial lamb opens. As the lamb opens each seal, John sees something awful happening in the world. From rivers of blood to plagues of locusts, John is powerless to stop these visions. Jesus reveals to John what will happen when these plagues are over. Angels brand faithful humans, marking them for heaven. When they die, God gives them bounty and eternal paradise under the watchful eye of the sacrificial lamb. John is processing this information when the visions begin again. This time, John must watch the angels destroying the world and everyone in it. Community by community, humans fall and die. Some non-believers, or those with weak faith, change their minds. Clinging to Jesus, they know they will be saved. Meanwhile, those who refuse to accept Jesus die in increasingly horrible ways. Enormous beasts appear, causing chaos everywhere. The unfaithful worship them instead because they believe these beasts can fight Jesus. Watching this unfold, John is powerless to do anything but take notes. One day, God plans to judge everyone for their actions on earth. This includes people who are already dead, even if they died for believing in Jesus. God has a book filled with the names of people who should be spared. If someone's name is not in the book, they will be destroyed. Jesus wants to spare as many people as possible, so John must get this message out immediately. John ends the text with a warning about changing his message or censoring it in any way. Tampering with his words is a direct violation of God's word and will result in eternal damnation. In the meantime, we should all praise Jesus and wait for the second coming, because it will happen.